Hello, Year 6, and welcome to your Year 6 English lesson, lesson number 8. This is our third lesson this week as we write our retell of our story Cloud Busting. Before we begin, you will need a pen or pencil, as well as your home learning book or something to write on. If you don't have these things, please pause the video here and come back when you have everything you need. Please be reminded, this week's writing task is to write a short retell of our class text, Cloud Busting. You will need to choose the most important parts of the story and decide how to engage your reader in your retell. Today will be your last day to build up ideas, and tomorrow you will begin an extended piece of writing where you'll retell the whole story. Today's feature is highlighted in red. While I read the model text to you, please have a think about what feature it is that I have highlighted. And if you're up for a challenge, have a think about what the purpose of this feature is. Listen and think while I read. His smile turned to a frown as he swallowed that first bite. Immediately he knew something was not right. Wide, panicked eyes replaced his calm, content expression as Davy realized what Alex, who he thought was being nice, had done. Almost instantly, Davy's face erupted in red spots, which signaled to everyone that something was not right. A few meters away, Alex and his friends howled with laughter. They couldn't believe they'd gotten away with it. "What a dork," Alex remarked. Simultaneous to Alex's cruel remark, Davy began to desperately gasp for air. He couldn't breathe. Alex's eyes suddenly landed on Davy, who was now crumbling to the floor, and he instantly knew something was not right. Now, Year 6, have a think about what I've highlighted. If you guessed repetition and ellipsis, you're correct. Well done. Our learning objective today is to use repetition and ellipsis to create cohesion across paragraphs. Before we begin learning how to use repetition and ellipsis, we need to first understand what cohesion is. Cohesion is the glue that holds your writing together. When I talk about cohesion, I'm talking about the way your writing flows and how you, the author, has decided to organize your ideas. My turn. Cohesion is the glue that holds your writing together. Your turn. Great job. Remember, if our writing has no cohesion, it's choppy and unorganized. I don't think I'd want to read a piece of writing that's choppy and unorganized, would you? No. So good writers create cohesion because it makes our writing more enjoyable and more engaging for our reader. Why do good writers create cohesion, Year 6? Well done, because it makes our writing more enjoyable and more engaging for our reader. Good readers use cohesion all throughout their writing. They use cohesion within paragraphs and across paragraphs in their whole story. Today we're going to be focusing on creating cohesion across different paragraphs. We can create cohesion in many different ways. Today we'll focus on two specific ways to create cohesion across paragraphs. These ways are repetition and ellipses. My turn. Repetition. Your turn. Great job. My turn. Ellipses. Your turn. Well done. Let's take a look at our first way to create cohesion. Repetition means repeating an important word or phrase for impact. That's important to remember, Year 6. Let's say this again together. Repetition is repeating an important word or phrase for impact. Now it's your turn on your own, Year 6. What is repetition? Great job. In this example piece of writing, I have repeated the phrase, something was not right. You'll notice that I've repeated this phrase across 2 different paragraphs. This is because this part of my story is building up to that moment when Alex has given Davy the sandwich and we realize that Davy is having an allergic reaction. This repeated phrase emphasizes an important word or phrase. It emphasizes that something is not right. Repetition is used to emphasize an important word or phrase. My turn. Repetition is used to emphasize an important word or phrase. Your turn. Well done. Now let's think about ellipsis. An ellipsis is used to do one of 2 things. An ellipsis is used to create tension. This tension can link what's just happened in a story to what will happen next. An ellipsis is also used to signal the trailing off of a thought. It leads the reader into the next thought. Remember, this is when we use an ellipsis to create cohesion or that flow in our writing. Now, Year 6. An ellipsis is a great way to create cohesion across paragraphs. It leads your reader from one paragraph to the next, and they understand what's going to come next. But ellipsis should be used sparingly. This means not too much. We really need to think about how and when we will use an ellipsis. Let's look at this example. In my work, which ellipsis is used correctly? Pause the video here, read both sentences, and decide which ellipsis is used correctly. Great job. If you said number 2, you are correct. In number 1, I've used an ellipsis straight in the middle of a thought. And that's not where an ellipsis goes. In number 2, I've used an ellipsis to signal the trailing off of my thought, leading my reader into what will happen next. We'll find out what Alex has done. Now let's think about purpose. Let's read this example and think, what is the purpose? I'll read to you. Wide, panicked eyes replaced his calm, content expression as Davy realized what Alex, who he thought was being nice, had done. ... There's my ellipsis. What is the purpose of my ellipsis here? Is it to create tension and link what's just happened to what will happen next? Or is it to signal the trailing off of a thought? Pause the video here, have a think, and come back when you're ready to find out the answer. Great job! If you said that this ellipsis is used to create tension, you are correct. It links what has just happened to what will happen next. In this case, though I have a red X, an argument could be made that this ellipsis is used to trail off a thought and lead the reader in to the next thought or the next big idea of the text. The ellipsis helps the reader understand what will happen next. We will learn what Alex has done. Now let's take a look at example number 3. Which phrase is repeated? Well, I've given you that in red. The more important question here is why is this phrase repeated? Pause the video here, read through, and come back when you're ready to hear the answer. Great job. Year 6, what did you come up with? Why is this phrase important? Why did I choose this phrase to repeat throughout my writing? Good ideas. I've chosen to repeat this phrase because I'm trying to emphasize or draw my reader's attention to the fact that Davy had changed. Now it's your turn to find the repeated phrase and figure out why this phrase was chosen to be repeated. Why is it important? Listen while I read. Though Sam knew he would never be the same, he was grateful he had changed. He didn't want to be the same as he had been. He wanted to be different, be better, and be unique. He didn't want to be the same as everyone else. The same was boring. And now Sam knew the same was not him. He was unique, fantastic, stupendous, and wonderful. And he knew this all because of Davy. Which phrase is repeated? And why did I choose to repeat this phrase? Pause the video here, have a think, and come back when you're ready to hear the answer. Great job, Year 6. If you found that the repeated phrase was the same, you are correct. Now, why do you think I chose to repeat this phrase in my writing? Well done. I chose to repeat this phrase because I wanted to draw my reader's attention or emphasize the fact that Sam was not the same. That idea of being the same or being just like everyone else is a theme throughout this book. And I've used this phrase to emphasize this theme in my writing. Let's review. Cohesion is the glue that holds your writing together. Your turn. Great job. Cohesion is how your writing flows. Your turn. Well done. And cohesion is the purposeful organization of your ideas. Your turn. Well done. And let's review the 2 ways that we are creating cohesion across paragraphs today. My turn. Repetition. Your turn. Well done. Repetition means repeating an important phrase. Remember, Year 6, it must be an important phrase that you repeat because you are trying to emphasize it. The second way we're creating cohesion today is by using an ellipsis. Your turn. Well done. Let's remember that an ellipsis creates tension and creates a link for your reader to what will happen next. Please take a moment now to write down your date and learning objective in your home learning book. Great. Let's keep going. Here I have 2 examples of my writing for you. I'm curious if you can identify which piece of repetition is more effective. And then, if you're up for a challenge, can you explain why it's more effective? Pause the video here, read both examples, and come back when you've chosen which is more effective. Great job. I hope you chose number 1. My repetition in number 1 is more effective because I have chosen an important phrase. I'm trying to emphasize how everything was different when Davy returned to school. In the second example, it sounds like I've just repeated for the sake of repeating. And we don't want to do that, year 6. We want to choose an important word or phrase to repeat in our writing. Let's look at this second example. Which paragraph should end with an ellipsis to create cohesion? And why? So which paragraph would be best suited to have an ellipsis at the end to create cohesion for my reader? Pause the video here, read both examples, and come back when you're ready to share your answer. All right, I hope you said number 2. Number 2 is the paragraph which could end with an ellipsis. Number 1 should not end with an ellipsis because this is the end of an idea. Number 2 can end with an ellipsis because it will lead your reader into what happens next. They get to find out what was not right. Well done. Now I need some help. I've done this piece of writing, but I'm not sure I've included repetition of important phrases, and I'm not sure that I've used ellipsis to create cohesion. My task for you, year 6, is to find the places where I've used repetition. Did I repeat important phrases? Then, find the places where I've used ellipses. Have I used them correctly? Do they create cohesion? Pause the video here and help me improve my writing. Well done. Let's take a look at some of the ways we could improve my writing. First of all, I've removed 3 incorrectly used ellipses. Did you find them? 2 were in the first paragraph, and 1 was in the second paragraph near the end. These ellipses were used incorrectly because they were in the middle of a sentence. They did not signal the trailing off of a thought, and they were not used to build tension, so I've removed them. The other place I would improve my writing is my repetition. You'll notice that I have repeated the phrase, wide panicked eyes. However, I hope you found that this phrase is not really important. This phrase was not chosen to emphasize anything. It simply sounds like I'm repeating for the sake of repeating. I'm curious if you came up with any other ideas of phrases I could have repeated in my writing. If you did, be sure to send an email or write this in your work on J2E. Let's get writing. Yesterday we wrote the build-up and the climax. Today we will be writing the resolution and ending of your story. Pause the video here and jot down 3 or 4 parts of the story you will include in your resolution and your ending. Great job! Now it's your turn, year 6, to get to work. You will be writing your resolution and your ending of your story. Don't forget to use repetition, ellipses, and other cohesive devices to create cohesion. In your resolution, you may want to include what happens after Davy is given the sandwich. Describe the scene in the hall how Davy gets help, and how Davy changes after the whole event. In the end, you want to talk about what happens. Describe how Sam and Dave have switched places and how Sam has changed. If you feel like you need a bit of support using repetition and ellipses, you may use the model text to help you or this support page. You could try repeating one of these few phrases that I've listed here, or you could use an ellipsis in a similar way that I've done in my model. I'll leave you here on the model text year 6. Remember, you're writing your resolution and your conclusion today. Good luck writing, and I'll see you tomorrow.